And we're live. Hi, I am not so much a dark chocolate. This doesn't sound appropriate at all. I like milk chocolate the most, but I'll call myself a chocoholic, yes. There was a what? What, Josh? A look. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it just didn't feel right. Anyway. That sounds very connoisseur-like to me. I don't know percentages. Oh, dang. Okay, hold on. Let me check. I don't know why. All right, guys, say something now. Let's test that out.
Okay. Testing. Hello.
Kaz, can you give us some feedback on that?
There we go.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I figured it out. But...
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, make sure that we can get the recording started right from the top.
Yeah, maybe do the intro again. That was embarrassing. I'm sorry.
That's so good.
This is the problem with live. Go for it, Trey.
Hello, and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we celebrate and inspire romanticism through featuring passionate guests from many creative avenues. Hello, I'm such a deep lover of dark chocolate. It really pains my soul sometimes that I'm such a hoity-toity when it comes to loving 60 to 75% dark chocolate. Hi, I'm Trey. And tonight I'm joined by my forever podcast host, Emily, who also loves chocolate.
I do. I would consider myself somewhat of a chocoholic. So, yeah, I don't know percentages, and I just know it's dark or milk and whether or not it has caramel in it. So,
Duly noted.
That's it.
And tonight we bring up chocolate because of our fantastic guests who I have really grown to admire in the brief videos that I've been able to watch on their YouTube channel and the hilarious time right before we started this podcast when we got started. Emily, would you like to introduce our guests for this evening?
I would love to. Yes. Today we are chatting with a most creative duo. These two literary and confectionary superheroes have founded the most interesting venture called Storyboard Delights. Oh, I can't even say it right. Storyboard Delights, which is a bookstore and chocolate shop in Longview, Washington. So please raise your mugs of hot chocolate to Julisa and Eric Wright. Yay!
Hello!
Or whatever you're drinking.
Yeah.
It is so nice to have you on the podcast tonight.
I know, it's so exciting.
Thank you. We're very excited to
Yeah,
be here.
thanks for coming. I saw that you are from Buffalo, Minnesota, and that is very close to where we are right now. Well, where I am and Josh, our moderator, is.
Yes, I am from Buffalo, Minnesota, a very small town. And it's weird that you guys are so weirdly close.
Right. I used to drive home from work and stop at that Walmart.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
When I lived in Maple Lake. I'd be
Yeah,
like,
I used to go there all the time just to hang out.
it's literally the only place to hang out.
Yeah. It's the place. It's that or the bowling alley. Both are
Yeah.
great.
You have yet to take me bowling there.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
true.
we'll go in July. Yeah.
We'll be happy to join you. if you
That's
want.
where we'll go.
That'll
Hang
be
out.
great.
Sounds great. We'll go to Wico's bowling alley.
Now we're going to have all these people from Minnesota join us at the bowling alley in Buffalo, Minnesota.
Boy, I hope so. We'll bring chocolate. We're going to sell chocolate at Wico's.
We're gonna... They won't see it coming. Tell us about, like, you were in theater before, though, right? Like, before all the chocolate and all of the bookstore and this whole venture part of your life, what you did something before that. Well, Julisa, you were in theater.
Yeah, I mean, Eric did high school theater. I've seen the home videos; they're great.
Buffalo.
From
Kind of a
Buffalo.
superstar.
I did a lot of theater here in Longview because this is my hometown, and then I moved to LA and I did improv comedy, and I did a little bit of work in like film, TV, did some commercials. So that was really fun. I just really loved doing the comedy scene with improv. Not so much stand up. That was a little bit extra soul sucking, and turns out I wasn't unhappy enough to be good at the stand-up comedy. So it's like, oh, I like lots of things. I don't know how to make this work. But yeah, lots of theater. And obviously now we kind of get to have our own show every day at our shop. We're like, welcome, come on in. And then we're just these two hokey characters.
I love that.
But yeah.
By the way,
Well.
Kaz in the chat said, Julisa, I love the color of your hair.
Why, thank you. It's freshly dyed. Well, almost fresh. There's the roots, but
Kaz, do you have anything to say about my hair? Because au natural.
It's wonderful.
Thanks.
Kaz, I'm sure you can come up with something. No pressure.
gorgeous.
Perfect.
Gorgeous.
So
That's what I like to
gorgeous,
see.
yes. So what was I want to know what you talked in one of your videos on YouTube about there was a moment where you came to realize that your talents were best paired together. And can you tell us about that?
Yeah.
I'm like, how? I mean, that's
Where
been
do we
it.
start?
I mean, that's been its own road to figuring out how we work together as well. Like that was a little tricky. We'd work on like some short film stuff together and collaborating. But where it really came together, I think, Eric, if you want to talk first, because it was like the sculpting of those weird, creepy heads.
Yeah. So I had a 3-hour total commute every day. So it was an hour and a half on the train to work and an hour and a half on the train on the way home from work. And so I'd have a 2-hour bike ride on either side of the train. And to pass the time, instead of reading like a normal person, I would bring a hunk of modeling clay and then sculpt a creepy little head while I was standing on the train, which drew a lot of attention from a lot of people. I made a lot of really great friends on the train who wanted me to sculpt all sorts of stuff for them. And I never did, thankfully. And So after you start sculpting, and I didn't have any real training in sculpting or in art. My degrees were in physics and mathematics when I was in college, and I took one stone sculpting class, and then so I started just kind of teaching myself, bringing my tools, and standing in the corner sculpting. And after you do that 400 times, you start to be able to make little creepy heads pretty consistently. And then I realized that you could actually, if I skewered them on pencils, I could ride my bike home with two heads, one on either side of the pencil, on the way, and get them home safe and sound. Sometimes they would fall under my bike tire on the way home, and then I'd have to just say goodbye to these little creations of mine. But I could take them home, and if I got them home safely, then I could bake them in the oven, and then they would stay forever. And then we had maybe 100 little sculpted creepy heads on our shelves.
The look on Julisa's face right now.
It did not go well with my design aesthetic that I had in the house.
Creepy heads.
Can you have somewhere else to put this?
Yeah.
Anywhere?
So I was a rate analyst for a regulated utility company setting the water rates for Compton, and that was my full-time job. And so I kept trying to get some sort of creativity into my life. So sculpting the heads was one way, and then I would do little stop-motion animations on my desk during my lunch hour. And so I'd close the door and I'd do a little 30-second stop motion, and I'd post it on Instagram, and it would make me feel good. And then I would sculpt another head on the way home and call it good. But then I wanted to do stuff from scratch. So, for instance, I liked cooking a lot. So I wanted to raise snails to make escargot. This is how I got into chocolate. And so I went out to our
parking lot.
Thank you. Parking lot. I went out to our parking lot at work, and I picked up 8 snails, and I put them in a little container to take home, because I knew that the snail variety in California, that's the garden snail, is the same one from France for escargot, because they're an invasive species. And I did the research, was like, I'm going to do this. And so I picked up 8 of them, and I put them in a Tupperware in my backpack, and then rode them home and put them in a terrarium. And so I started feeding them, and I was going to cleanse them with the cornmeal, and I was going to make sure that we didn't get any parasites or meningitis from this stupid idea of mine.
That's important.
And it was really important. And then I grew attached to them a little bit, and I named them. And then weeks went by where I was just kind of having these pet snails. And then one day I looked underneath, and I saw these little white balls that were appearing underneath the soil. And I thought, I wonder if it's rotting or something, if I'm doing something wrong. And I woke up in a few days, and there were 150 baby snails in this tiny little container of mine. And so I thought, well, let's double down. So I cooked the parents, practiced, and then I got scared of that, so we didn't eat them. And then I got a bigger terrarium, and I raised 150 snails from egg to adulthood to make this escargot dinner over the course of 4 months. And you're feeding them, and you're trying to clean them, and I know they move at a snail's pace, but they when there's 150 of them, it's sort of like they ooze out into your living room. So it wasn't the best hobby that I've ever had. I did finally cook them up, and I had about half of them that were at full adulthood, so I could put them back into their shells, and they tasted delicious, like little seasoned boogers. It was great. And Julisa was unimpressed, and so I said, well, I'm going to cook the rest of them, and we'll just be done with snails. And so I cooked them, but then I ended up burning them, and so I scraped the 4-month meal into the trash. And then I looked over at Julisa, and I said, so what should I do as a hobby now? And she said, anything but chocolate.
Anything but chocolate?
Oh, anything but snails.
You ruined the punchline. Way to go,
God.
Eric.
Just the worst.
Anything but snails.
Oh,
I mean,
Anything but snails. And so now we have a chocolate shop.
well, okay. But here's the thing. So then we went on a trip to Buffalo. We went to Buffalo Books. We found this gorgeous book about chocolate and how to make bean to bar chocolate. And since Eric likes to do things from scratch, I was like, well, this is a much better choice.
From
And so
scratch,
we
for sure.
Yeah, brought that home, and then that's when you started doing the actual like bean to bar chocolate thing.
Yes. So I started making chocolate in I got a little 10-pound grinder, and I started making chocolate in our apartment. But we had a 1-year-old, and the chocolate grinder is kind of loud, so I had to put it into the bathroom. So it was like bootleg chocolate.
Yeah.
And so I started making chocolate, and it tasted delicious. And then I thought, well, maybe I could do something, cool with these chocolates. So I started making bonbons, and then Julisa wanted to change her career because she was pretty tired of the acting situation.
Yeah, it got pretty exhausting when I'd have to spend more money on the babysitter than what I got paid for working the day on a set or like all the auditions and all. It was just like really disheartening. And I loved the idea of like design and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do like set design or interior design. And so we were sitting in the movie theater for a premiere of a really awful movie that I was in. And we walked out halfway after my scene was done. And I was like, let's go get scotch and talk about other options. And so like right then and there, I decided that I'd go back to school for design, which was visual communication, which is like, it's everything from visual merchandising to like in school, I wound up having to create a brick and mortar store. I like all these things that I did not know I would be using a couple years later. But yeah, the visual merchandising, the window displays, set design, like all of that stuff, packaging, branding, social media. Like I loved all of it. And so I decided to, go back to school for that. And then that's where I learned about mold making. And since Eric was making all these weird heads, I was like, well, now you're making chocolate as well. Like what if we made these chocolate sculptures? And so that's where they kind of like came together.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. And so then I started sculpting little bars with little images on them, and we didn't try to do a full head yet, but we wanted to do little bars, and then the bars have little custom sculptures on them, and they kind of turned out.
Yeah, and we thought we liked the idea of like storyboarding because we liked with the film industry, and so that's where the Storyboard Delights comes from. Once again, we like made this name before we knew we would have a storefront. Like that's years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should be Storybook Chocolates, but Storyboard Delights is when you live in Los Angeles and everybody knows what a storyboard is, and then you move to Longview and nobody has any idea what it is, and you've already branded, and now we're committed.
Yeah. Paid for all the things.
I knew what it was, but I guess I have been connected to film, so I get it. Trey, you knew what it was, yes? No?
Yeah. In a different context, but yes.
Yeah.
Snails?
Yeah.
Agatha Christie?
Yeah.
Yes to all of the above.
Yeah.
I do have to say that I got to see, because you had posted a couple of the pictures of the early clay sculptures in your YouTube video online, and I do have to say that there is something very endearing about those. So I do really like them, actually. They are really, really cute.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love them. They're great. Yeah, I'm wanting to do more and wanting to, we're kind of trying to figure out how to do more sculpted chocolates and get them out there because they're really cool little like weird things that you can't find anywhere else because we make them.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sandra said, "I love the name of your store, the combination of cafe, books, and chocolate."
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandra.
I figured, that's where I want to go hang out. So just create what you wish existed. And then that's worked out. A little bit too of like how we went from LA though, and just making this chocolate in our little condo to now moving up to my hometown in Longview and having a shop. None of the things that we saw ahead of us, they just kind of unfolded in front of us as we kept making decisions. But like was about a month out from graduating and 2 months out from having our second child. And I was like, I'm kind of done with LA and I'm almost done with school and we don't see our friends because we're all too busy. Why are we here? So we decided, we're like, all right, well, let's go back up to the Pacific Northwest. I miss it.
Yeah, we felt like we had been following the rules constantly of saying, okay, well, I'm going to graduate from college. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get married. We're going to have kids. So I'm going to buy an apartment. We're going to do all the right stuff. And then we just were miserable. And so at that point, you know, Julisa was 8 months pregnant and we were eating a mountain of pickles at a diner.
Of course.
And we said, well, what are we doing? Let's just leave. And so before I even talked to my work, we put our apartment up for sale, and it sold the next day.
So we're like, oh, I guess we better figure things out.
Yeah. So we.
This was all after I graduated, and we had Ellie. Though.
Yes.
So I was like, not to be confused.
That's right.
We had a 1-month-old, and then we sold our condo.
And then we sold the condo.
Way more logical.
Really a good idea.
That's a big life decision, though. I mean, that can be scary.
Took the plunge of saying, well, we don't want to do this anymore. So I walked into work and I said, I think I can do my job remotely because I'm already VPNing into the system. And my boss, instead of walking around the corner to my office, she calls me from next door. So we're just already remote. I can do this. I'd like to continue my job, but if not, I'm leaving the state. And they said, no, thanks. And so I said, okay. and we took our 2 children and our life. We sold all of our belongings. We have a picture of our daughter sitting in her room with nothing in it, just like stuffies around on the ground. She didn't have a bed. She didn't have anything.
We sold everything and then decided I went to an estate sale for Rosemary from the Dick Van Dyke Show, and they had a piano. So we bought a piano and brought that up, but we sold everything else because that's also logical. That's how we work.
I mean,
I was like, you know what, though? I do need this Hollywood memento from one of my favorite comedians. Yes, that sounds good.
I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we moved up, and then we moved in with Julisa's parents, which was great. It was awesome.
They were lovely. Bless their hearts.
Yep. They've
been amazing. But 2 months was good, and we were able to rent a house across the street, and that was a little bit better.
So we were thinking of, we were trying to think of like what to do to like slow the gush of money that comes out when you find yourself totally unemployed with 2 kids.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, well, I've been making chocolate. Maybe we could sell this stuff for a little bit. So I walked around town and tried to find some commercial kitchens, like a bakery or someplace, who might be willing to rent us some space, because I did some research, and you have to have a commercial kitchen to be able to sell online, and it has to be up to all the regulations and everything. So I had a lot of time on my hands, and so I was researching that. Then I walked into this bakery downtown in the historic part of Longview, and it's called the Sugar Pearl now. But Kimmy, who owns it, we had one conversation with her, and I walked in and I said, "Hey, I'm a chocolatier." I didn't tell her that I just read a book on chocolate making, but when you say chocolatier, people really respect you.
You know, fake it till you make it. Just live it. Go for it.
So I said, I'm a chocolatier. I'm looking for a commercial kitchen to rent. How much would it cost? And she just handed me her key and was like, "Follow your dreams." And I was kind of stunned, and I said, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "It's free. Just pay me in chocolate once in a while." And so that was a Tuesday, and then on Friday I moved in a 450-pound slab of granite and was there permanently. And she gave us 8 months of essentially free rent to get our business off the ground.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. And that doesn't happen in Los Angeles or Portland or a big city. So a lot of people have come to us and said, "Oh, your shop would be really great in like a bigger city." And our shop just wouldn't exist in a bigger city.
We would not
because-
have survived
Yeah,
these
we
last
wouldn't-
few years or even gotten started.
Yeah. And so this mentality of going home to your hometown and trying to do something cool there, you can just do anything because people will support you and they will open their doors to you in ways that bigger cities just can't afford to do. And so she gave us 8 months of free rent, and then she increased it to $150 a month.
Oof.
Which was rough. And then she put in a good word with the landlord, who liked. We had been chatting about the idea of a chocolate shop bookshop.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in her bakery one night at 11 o'clock at night, winnowing beans, with a big mask on because it was giving me lung issues. And so the landlord comes in and he says, "Hey, I love your idea for a chocolate shop bookshop. I'd like more retail. The space is coming available. What do you say? I'll give you a 30% discount on the rent until you need it." And I about fell over again. So I would go home to Julisa and I was like, I think the universe is telling us we should just open a shop.
Mm-hmm.
So
So we're like, okay, let's just do it and find out.
yeah, doors were closing in Los Angeles, and then we picked up and left, and then all the doors started opening.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I
mean, it's just been, I don't know, we just kind of keep putting one step in front of the other one as we go. But now, in the end of June, we will have been open for 4 years. So that's
Awesome.
yeah. Thanks.
It's been a breeze.
Oh,
An
God.
easy 4 years.
I know.
Oh, man. We opened 6 months before the pandemic, and we're like, cool. All right. So,
Gut punch.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Apparently, you can do my old job remotely.
Yeah.
They found that out.
I was gonna say that earlier. Did they
mhm.
figured that out eventually?
Yeah.
That is amazing. I love this story because I think my favorite part is that you were like, I'm a chocolatier. And I mean, that's something that I think on the Brooke Shaden episode we did, where Brooke said, what is a professional? We just kind of decide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what you did. And I love it. Yes. And here you are.
You just commit to that thing. I remember the first day that we opened, and I was so nervous to take people's money
Yeah.
for what we had made. It felt really wrong. And I'm over that now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we will take this. We've worked really hard. Really hard.
Yeah. We got really lucky though, in addition to the doors opening, I mean, it feels like it's almost unheard of that a married couple worked so well together.
Mhm.
And we really had to work at that because our brainstorming styles are totally different.
Mhm.
I like to be really vocal and I want to say, let's brainstorm and come up with great ideas, and it overwhelms Julisa.
Yeah, I was like, wait. I got to feel this out. I got to visualize it. I got to journal about it or something. I don't know. I got to do something different. But we've really figured this out. And we figured out, for me, the kind of irony is I don't like being in the kitchen. I don't like cooking. I don't like doing any of that. So I get to have more fun with the bookshop boutique side of things, and I do all the social media, and I'm doing all of the branding, and but I really enjoy that part. And then I was like, Eric, it'd be really great to photograph this kind of chocolate. Can you make that? Thanks.
Yeah. It's cool though, because then my whole career now is on one side of the kitchen, where I'm in the kitchen making the stuff, doing that artwork, and then Julisa has the other side where it's all the merchandising, all of the design of the shop. I mean, she hand painted the floor of our shop, redid all of the installations of the
ceiling. I did all the shelving.
She pasted a whole bunch of a 1,000 book pages to the wall as the installation for this thing. So you walk into our shop and it's got this magical vibe, and it's just all Julisa designing it to make it feel that way.
Right.
And then she's curating all of the books that we have, and ordering the stickers and the designing the sweatshirts that we're doing. And so then on the weekends I'll do a pastry, and
I sing jazz, so I have a jazz band, and so like I'll sing, and then Eric does the pastries, and there we are.
And then we
crazy.
just drink champagne well into the night. And
I know there were some comments in there I saw earlier about like if it's a bar, and we have wine and beer. So it's like wine, beer, and then our chocolates and jazz and books. And it's like, it's just all of my favorite things ever. So it's really, really great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds awesome.
I know I've been fairly silent, but like I just want to live there. Do you like rent spaces in that shop?
Mm-hmm. It's so fun. I was like, if we're gonna like live in our business of whatever it is we're doing, we just created a space that we like to be. Like our favorite time is going in early in the morning after we've dropped off the kids at school. We come in and we just have coffee in our little cafe, and like the sunlight comes in, and I feel like I'm in on a movie set. And I'm like, we're living our movie life that I just never booked an audition for. Like, so great. Like, I was like, oh, let's make our own thing happen.
Well, and we kept thinking about what are we going to do when we retire. We're like, wouldn't it be great if we work really hard for 60 years, then we'll retire and we'll find a little town. We'll settle down, have a couple of kids, open a little tiny
After
shop.
60 years of working? I don't think so, Eric.
You're
You
going to
gotta
have a couple of kids in 60 years, Julisa, and then we're going to start our life.
Nope. Mm-mm. We'll edit that a little bit. That's a bit wonky. Anyway.
Not great with timelines.
No, it's awful.
One of the things that honestly strikes me about your story is how like a community just kind of came together and helped make this story just come to life.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'm kind of curious about is your take on like the power of a small community or like a town and the artistic community within that. Like, what has it been like from your experience?
It's a really good question because we're literally just coming out of another time of having the community support. So we got a lot of support with the community during the pandemic. I feel like especially a lot of small towns, there's a lot of like that momentum and rallying around the small businesses. And that was amazing. Like that's another thing where we couldn't have made it in Seattle or Portland or any big city. Like there's just no stinking way.
You have all these people in the big cities, and then everyone thinks that everyone else is going to go out and support the businesses, and but there's no actual ownership from the communities because there's so many people. You say somebody else will do it, but in the small towns, we heard from a lot of other businesses that during the pandemic, everybody came out to support them and got them through. And so it was, I think that's one of the reasons that we're still open right now. But then, pandemic aside, now
Well, it's tricky because like now everyone's like, oh, the pandemic's over. But for our town, especially in our downtown, a lot of us small businesses are really struggling because we're having issues with, I mean, to be totally honest, like the city is not supporting us as small businesses. And so we're having to do a lot of the support and like, bolstering what we're doing on our own. But like just recently, we just were really transparent on our social medias and like 2 weeks ago. And we're like, we're on the brink of closing our doors because all the sales have been down for the last year. We're not able to, we were hoping to expand and have like a cool kitchen to do classes in. And we were going to renovate the downstairs like space. But we had been talking to a bunch of our friends who own businesses and all of them were like, we're days, weeks, months away from closing. And I was like, why is nobody talking about this? And so we just posted on our social media. I was like, hey guys, like it's been really awesome having your support those other times, but now we're really struggling and we'd hate to have to close our doors. And I didn't want to be that business that just closed their doors and didn't tell anybody until after it was done, because that's what a lot of businesses will do. And so I was like, I'm just going to be open. I was like, this is hard. We're still struggling. We're still working, as hard as we can, but we still need you guys to support us. And so there was just this huge outpouring from the community where it's overwhelming. And we still are backed up on some of our online orders.
Awesome.
Because we just got this like flood of orders through online from friends. Like I still can't get over how it had its own like little mini viral thing where it got shared 200 and some odd times on Facebook, just like our little like video thing that we did, and then it reached over like, I don't know, 15,000 people in somewhere. And
Wow.
I mean, it's not like a paid sponsorship or anything. This was just organic people sharing it. And then we had people coming up from Vancouver and Portland and Salem being like, hey, I saw this on Facebook. I want to support you guys. This is amazing.
Cool.
And so that's helped us because we just lost all of our inspiration and steam. We're like, no one's coming in the doors. Why are we making this stuff? No one, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, we're totally burned out. And it's so easy when people come in and they say, I'm just so glad that everything is going so well for you. And you have this knee-jerk reaction, be like, yeah,
it's so great.
It's so good. And then you're just crushed inside. And then the moment we started being transparent with like us and how we're feeling and what the business is like, then that's when people came out and they would say, they'd come in and buy $150 worth of chocolate and say, I just had no idea. I had no concept of this. And so we're hoping that this will start it's funny too with social media, because now that one post did so well, now the algorithm has been picking up our future posts, and they've been doing better because it says, oh, people want to hear from you. So we sort of caught this wave, and we're trying to start that dialogue about the other businesses,
because we want to use that kind of like the reach that we're getting, like, hey, any other small businesses that you're thinking of or that you haven't gone and visited, like check in on them, and not just check in, like maybe buy a little something. And I know we're all struggling, for money because inflation and everything, like it's just hard for everybody, but like having that conversation and being able to be like, I don't know, just being open and be like, nope, we need help. We can't do this alone. Just because we make something really fun and cool that we're passionate about, it doesn't always pay the bills. And so that's where it's been like, that's the latest thing, as in like the last 2 weeks, we thought we were having to close our doors, and now we're just trying to keep up with orders. And so we're hoping that sustains, because there's one thing where they're like, we all came in and saved the business. And you're like, and it also sunk our lifeboat. So, okay. We're trying to like keep up with the chocolate, but then we're doing pastries on the weekends because that's what brings people in our town. And so now we're just kind of trying to figure out what in the world we're doing tomorrow, the next day.
I saw on your site that you, in addition to just offering like chocolates, you have classes, and like there's a bonbon making class as well that I saw. It's in person though. Do you do remote classes at all?
I haven't done remote classes. I love teaching classes though, so I would absolutely do that if people were interested in it, because we have our movie making background, so we can just set up cameras and make that happen. The classes that I've taught so far have been, they've got this cool vibe where you come in and we all have a glass of wine or a hot chocolate or whatever beverage you want, and then everybody's strangers when they first come in, and then I bring them back into the kitchen, and then we start making chocolate together. So like on Wednesday I'm doing a chocolatiering class where we make these, I teach how to temper by hand, and so everybody takes a turn with the hands-on tempering, and we talk about the crystal structure, and we talk about chocolate in general and what to do and how to keep it from seizing and all of the stuff that you need to know about chocolate to make it work. So everybody gets a chance to try it, and then we start making chocolate cigarettes, which if you've never done it, it's where you roll the little curl of chocolate out onto the slab, and it's almost impossible the first time you do it, except for my last class. They all did it on the first try, and I was just blown away. But normally everybody fails except for me, and then it makes me feel really good. And then I say, see, it's more difficult than you think. But last time everybody won, so that was fun. And then I teach how to make little flower petals and out of chocolate. And so we make a bunch of petals, and everybody's going through and they're trying these things, and then I have them make one of the creepy sculpted heads that I've got. And at the end, then we knock out a whole bunch of petals all at once, and now we're assembling our little sculptures in these little flowers with a weird head at the center of the bulb. and it's just the coolest thing. And by the end of the night, everybody is just chums. They're all I mean, we have several people who exchange numbers, and then they take future classes together, and then we have people who like go out for cocktails afterwards, and it's just this really fun vibe. The bonbon making class is bonkers because everyone gets a tray of bonbons, and the cool thing about chocolate is that the cost of the materials itself really is negligible if you're making micro batch chocolate. So it's not really about how much you chocolate. The cost of chocolate comes into the labor that goes into it. And so if everybody's making their own bonbons, it doesn't really cost that much for everybody to just take home all the bonbons that they make. So what I do is I hand everybody a tray of bonbons, polycarbonate mold, and then everybody we have 6 to 10 people in this tiny little kitchen, and I show them pictures of our bonbons, and everybody chooses a style that they want to do, whether it's like a caged bonbon, or it's they want to do a painted bonbon, or if they want to do a splatter technique or some sort of spraying technique. There's all sorts of different ways that you can decorate bonbons. So everybody chooses a different way, and then it's this 4 hours of frantic teaching everybody all these different ways to do it, and keeping everybody going. And we're going to do bonbons start to finish. So we're decorating the molds, and then we're casting them in chocolate, making your cavities, and then we're creating the ganache for it, which is a whole separate thing. And so I'm having people heat up their own milk, and then stir in their ganache, and then they're tabling it to make sure it's the right temperature, and then everybody's finally is piping their own thing. And then you get to the piping stage, and it's already been difficult because there's chocolate everywhere. And then you're like, here's a piping bag, go ahead and pipe it. And it's a colossal mess because the majority of the world doesn't understand how to hold piping bags properly and how to do them without getting it everywhere. And it's so fun to watch these people just make a huge mess and think that they're worried about it. But I have made every mess and broken every grinder and done every problem with it. And then it's cool. So at the end, you scrape everything off the table, and we seal up our bonbons, and everybody's kind of out of breath, and we have a moment of solitude where you're waiting for everything to fully crystallize, and then we take a sip, and everybody's chatting. And by the time you go through this process, everybody is just friends, and you've been laughing, you've been through this whole experience, and then you take the bonbons out and you knock them out, and they look unbelievable. They like, out of this mess of chocolate, suddenly it's just this beautiful little morsel of chocolate, and everybody's cheering, and they're so excited, and everybody's congratulatory of everybody, commenting on how beautiful their bonbons are. And then we just package them all up and send them home with tons of chocolate. And so I would love to do more of that. That's like my favorite thing of the whole thing.
I mean, the most fun too is just that it's an experience for people to like have together, and that's the whole point of our shop. It's not even about the chocolate or the books. It's about people coming in and having an experience and doing that. Yeah.
What you just described makes me want to do it. Also, then do you have to clean up this mess? Do you just eat all the little crumbs and little?
I think we used to. Now I'm like, please no, I can't. Just put them in like another bin for something creative.
I'll just sculpt it later.
Yeah.
Just sculpt it.
Yeah. I saw someone had asked if we ship all over the U.S. and we do. So especially we're getting into the hot summer months, but we do the best that we can. We have like little insulation envelopes and ice packs, but yes, we do ship all over the U.S.
Sometimes we'll ship the 40 minutes to Portland and they'll melt, but at the other hand, we'll ship to the heart of Texas and they're totally fine.
So it just depends sometimes on the USPS, but we're working those things out. That's really fun.
And you also sell coffee and things like that too, so it's not all just meltable things.
Right. Yeah, because we have like our sipping coffee and our sipping chocolate. We're creating new things.
I love that.
Sipping coffee is bonkers. That's like, That's
That's a new
I mean,
invention.
how much do you want to know? The sipping coffee is crazy.
What
I
is
took
sipping coffee? Like, share that. I have no idea.
So sipping coffee, I've been roasting cocoa beans with a friend of mine who's his name is Rob Hose, and he's a professional coffee roasting consultant, and so he just teaches coffee roasters how to roast coffee. He doesn't sell locally or have a coffee shop. So he's just an expert in coffee roasting. And so he comes into the shop and is like, "Hey, I think I'd like to roast cocoa beans on my fancy coffee roasting equipment." And I said, "Hey, I'd like to do that too." And so we go to his commercial kitchen that he's got on his property, and we start roasting beans. And then we're talking. This is the kind of guy where he's like, you walk in and he hands you a cup of coffee, and it's the best cup of coffee you've ever had in your entire life. And it comes from some place in the Galapagos where you had to take 6 flights and a little dinghy ferry to get to the tree that the beans came
Wow.
from. Yeah, he's a nut. He's really great. And so we got to talking about like chocolate and how chocolate is made. And so really there's 2 components to dark chocolate, that are the primary things where they're in the cocoa bean. There's a cocoa mass, which is this dark chocolate, the dark part. And that's like the solid. And then there's the other half of the bean that is cocoa butter. And when you grind it, you just pulverize that cocoa mass down to like a particle size of 6 microns or whatnot, and it starts to flow in the cocoa butter that now melts from the friction of it. So it's technically still a dry ingredient. It's just been changed on a physical property level. So we were talking about coffee, and I was like, "Hey man, it'd be really fun to just grind coffee beans. They don't have any oil in them, but we could probably do it the same way because I've got this 55-pound brick of cocoa butter that I could just add to it, and we could make a chocolate coffee." So I did it, and it turns out to be this intense coffee flavor because it's all coffee, but it has all the properties of chocolate. So you can make a hot chocolate. You can make a little wafer. So we make wafers, and it's about 1/3 of a cup of caffeine in there. You don't want to eat a whole bunch of them. But
I do.
You can taste the roast profile differences between the beans. You can taste the difference in the type of beans, of coffee beans that you have. I mean, all of the flavor is there, and then it's sealed in to cocoa butter because it's all encased. And so normally with coffee, you roast it, and then you've got like 2 days before it's kind of bad and kind of flat. Whereas this, now that it's sealed in all the cocoa butter, it just holds its flavor. And so you can have these wafers of coffee chocolate that you're now eating, or if you grind it into a pulverized like
powder,
and then you add a little bit of half and half, and you microwave it until it turns into a perfect little European style sipping chocolate. Now you have a velvety smooth, thick coffee.
Right, because it's thicker than obviously like Turkish coffee, but it's almost like a coffee pudding.
Yeah,
I guess you'd even
like
say
coffee pudding, and
Yeah.
it is outrageous.
Yeah,
And it'll light you
Wow.
up if you don't do it with decaf.
yeah.
I'm on board for that part. Okay, so there are a few comments in the chat.
Yeah.
One is I love sipping coffee from Kaz. Josh is Archer33X. He said I'm gonna need some merch. Trey's already getting his order together. That's this Trey. Sipping chocolate. Okay, so and Josh said, "Oh dear God, I must try this." Credence said, "Mainline espresso beans."
Yeah.
Is that like a? Oh, then he also said, "Sounds like an addiction I want to have." Okay, so pretend you don't even have to pretend. This is reality. I don't like coffee, but I'm intrigued by the idea of like the chocolate. Does the sipping chocolate taste like chocolate then, or coffee, or both? Maybe I'm confused.
So there's sipping chocolate,
Yeah.
which is like a European thing.
Decadent hot chocolate.
It's-
That's like
It's like a whole hot chocolate condensed down into a little demi-tasse espresso cup.
Okay.
So it's like really, really thick hot chocolate.
Okay.
And it's just looser than ganache.
Okay.
that you would put on a cake or put in a bonbon or anything. But if you let it sit too long, it'll turn to a solid little pudding, and you can eat it with a spoon. The sipping coffee tricks your brain because you think that it's chocolate because it looks like chocolate and it behaves like chocolate and has all the texture of chocolate, but it's not chocolate. It's all coffee. And so when you put it into your mouth and it goes onto your tongue, you're like, this is going to tell you, oh my God, it's coffee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still very intriguing. It sounds like everybody is, everybody wants some. Kaz said, where do I
very
order?
excited.
Great.
I put the link. It's storyboarddelights.com. But you don't have this as a product yet, though, right?
We have,
absolutely do.
yeah. I think the only thing that right now we're out of stock on those little dollops, but I
Yes.
should just put a thing where people can still sign up, and then when it's restocked, I can send it out. We've just been so busy, a wonderful thing, but then we're like, oh, it's just the two of us, basically. And I'm the one that doesn't like to be in the kitchen, so it's just Eric.
So it's Delightful Dollops is what we're talking about. Okay.
Delightful Dollops are the wafers, and then there's sipping coffee, which we have a ton of.
Yeah.
And sipping coffee is the powder that you can turn into the drink.
Right.
Okay.
It's the same product. It's just in a different form.
Gotcha. That's good to know for the people that are going to go order right now.
Yes.
Excellent.
Please expect me. I am so sorry, but I am like salivating because I have your I have your shop pulled up on one side of the screen, and I'm just kind of scrolling through, going, this, and I want 3 of this, and I want 3 of this, and so please expect a very large order from me. At
So
some point.
excited.
We'll get it to you in 7 to 10 weeks.
No,
Well, just give it to us in person at that point.
I know,
Yes.
right? Hand deliver it.
So Kaz said, okay, when I make my order for sipping coffee, can I leave a note that I came from the podcast?
Yes.
Sure.
On the-
Absolutely.
There's a place
I
to
handwrite
do that.
all my notes to everyone anyways, so I'll be like, thank you. So
Yeah.
Love
there you
that. Okay. Wonderful.
One thing that throughout all of this, because you've talked about things consistently that bring you a lot of joy in this process, whether it be the artistic side, whether it be the chocolate itself, or whether it be the experience. What is something that really just makes you go, yes, this is why I want to do what I do?
I have an answer, but I want to hear what Julisa says.
Oh man. I mean, for me, it isn't the chocolate. For me, it's the space that I've created. So the moment people come in and they go, I've never been somewhere that feels so magical, or it feels like, or they feel seen, or they feel like it's something that they've been looking for. And in our town, it is more on a conservative side, but something that I feel very passionate about is making sure that everyone feels welcome. And so it's even in the books that I've curated, it's in the merchandise. It's just a way of it's celebrating love and acceptance and a joy of life, which is where it all started for us, for making chocolate that's fun and it's not too serious. So for me, it's worth it every day when I get to hear someone say, when they come in, they're like, oh, this is the most magical place I've ever been. And I'm like, oh, yay. Okay. I've done my design job, and this is my
so
heart
cool.
out in a shop.
Yeah. I mean, this hits home for that idea, because it's really about the people who come into our shop and then feel good about it. And we have made ourselves a safe space for the LGBTQ community, and so every once in a while we'll get down in the dumps of what are we doing? This is so hard. Why even keep going? And then we'll have a couple come in and they'll order hot chocolates and they'll sit on our couch, and they don't feel comfortable anywhere else in town to have a date. And it just makes me feel so good that we were able to provide that. It's not even about the chocolate or the product. I for the chocolate, I'm aiming for, I would never try to be the best or go to a bunch of competitions or, try to claim that our dark chocolate bar is better than anybody else's. We're just aiming for damn good on that. Same with the pastries. That's the goal. But
I think our whole our whole goal, even when we started, is we wanted people to take a moment out of the autopilot of their day and out of that and just inspire people to take a moment, to just see something a little bit different, or to feel inspired, or to feel joy, or, and that's why, like, it's so fun to have chocolate faces. It's not what you expect. And then suddenly you're like, oh, wait a second. What is this? So that's been our biggest passion, is just to help people. We get so run down with everything that's going on in the world and our worries and our all the stuff. And so the moment that we can give somebody a really fun experience, a time, a smile. I mean, I remember we had a customer, and she's so lovely. She moved, I think, back down to California, but she had like major social anxiety, and it was the only place that she felt like she could actually be. So that's what's really special to us, is creating something that people don't get to find every day.
Right.
It sounds. Oh, go ahead, Trey. Sorry.
No, go ahead. We do this every single time. We do this every single time.
That's pretty good.
It's so refreshing to hear an answer quite like that. For me, especially, given like I'm currently dating my boyfriend Seth, whom I love dearly. Hi, Seth. We are always looking for places that we can feel very comfortable. And so for you to make a place like that, not just for people like me, but for also people like who have a lot of social anxiety and can just exist in a space without any kind of requirements and just let them be, done. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool too, because we don't, while we are forward and we have a huge pride flag in our window, and because they kept stealing the smaller ones out of the planter, so we just kept getting bigger ones. And then so while we have a lot of signage and a lot of our books, we're very explicit about our views on everything. It's not really a place where we are trying. We're not trying to say like our views. I think the big thing we're passionate about is just showing a love and acceptance for everyone to be who they are. But none of our social media posts or anything like have any opinions or political slants or anything like that. Yeah, but like when somebody who is very obviously very conservative comes into our shop, we don't try to alienate them. Mm-hmm. And so I think my goal with the shop is to bring people together. So we've created a very safe space, and obviously like things are not tolerated there. But one thing that I love is that sometimes you'll have somebody coming in to order a chocolate or a hot chocolate, and they're wearing their "Make America Great Again" hat, and they'll be sitting there in their hat drinking a chocolate under a huge pride flag, and I'm hoping that they will come in and they'll have that mindset of these damn liberals. Except for those chocolate people, they were cool. And now you've got that like link where now people are starting to talk to each other again, and hopefully rather than hit this community over the head and try to like forcibly change them, we're sort of microdosing them, saying this is a loving place of, you know what I mean? This is you're microdosing love into their life, and you're saying, hey, come here, and you everyone is safe as long as you're respectful. Yeah, we're going to be okay. Because I think a lot of people are feeling alienated towards each other, and they don't feel like they are welcome in the community. Mm-hmm. And so rather than trying to start a war, we're trying to start that place where people can come together and they can feel good about being around each other. Mm-hmm. Now.
I love that. Yeah. That's I've heard a lot about and I've experienced the community that just indie bookstores by themselves will create in their own towns. And like we talked to one down in Arkansas recently, that the power of the community that they've created has in turn supported them through really hard times. And they didn't quite even realize how powerful that was and how much they had given to the community by simply being there in the capacity they were. And it wasn't until hard times came upon them that they started to see how that was giving back to them that same love. And it was really cool to hear that story, and yours too. Like, I see how you have that same thing. Credence in the chat said, grew up in the Dakotas. That's a long, hard road to walk. Best wishes. Yeah. Sorry, I missed a couple of messages there. Also, Seth is in the chat.
Hey, Seth.
Hi, Seth.
Josh said, I love you guys, and microdosing them with love. That's freaking brilliant.
Aw.
Yeah. So, I had one other question. Trey, were you going to ask something? I'm so sorry.
Nope. Goodbye.
There he goes.
Of course. I don't know. He asked what the question I like to usually ask, so, which is wonderful. I'm glad he did. Oh, you're back. It's your turn now. I guess I wondered if there are any big dream projects that you want to make happen someday. Do you have anything on the horizon, or even past that you?
So many.
I mean, it's like so many, and yet we've had to let go of some dreams too. Like, that was like, we had a big thing for the downstairs to create a big commercial kitchen for classes, and then create like a cool speakeasy underneath our shop as well. And that one just hasn't worked out. I don't know. I mean, there's other things where we're like, yeah, and let's start a dinner theater, and then like, it's like all sorts of different things.
The one that I really want to do.
Eric.
I love this.
Go for it.
This is.
I had this cockamamie idea. Just how most of my stories start.
Does it involve snails?
No.
Okay.
No, it does not involve snails anymore. Though I'm getting a tattoo of a snail soon, and I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
But I had this idea to, like, if we're in the business of breaking rules, let's just break rules and then have fun with it. So I wanted to start offering like a chocolate experience where what if we just, you have all these bean to bar chocolate makers who take it so seriously. Yeah, I mean, like you see the Lindt chocolatiers, and they've all got their golden whisks, and they're turning, and they're perfectly symmetrical faces, and they're like all I do is work out and eat chocolate. And you're like, great, that's awesome. Why are you so serious?
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, let's just do crazy stuff. What if we offered a service where if you paid $1,200, I'll just dump 100 pounds of chocolate onto your body in a clawfoot tub in front of all of your friends as a birthday gift. And then you can just sort of swim in chocolate for a little bit.
You could be your own fondue. People could like dip things in there.
The birthday fondue dip.
Things.
I mean,
things.
So ridiculous. So I went out and I bought a clawfoot tub. And it's in the basement at the shop. And I would love to do that. And trying to figure out how to. I mean, it would be a great fundraiser for places where you're like, hey, let's raise money and then do the chocolate dip for the math teacher at the local elementary school, and everybody, chips in, and we'll see how much money you raise for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kaz said that's a nacho of my life moment. That's like that's an inside thing here. Also, money bags, which I'm guessing is take my money.
Yes.
In the James Navy, the first James Navy episode we did, where he hiked the Appalachian Trail, he had a friend named Nacho, who was full of ideas like this and things like
Love
that.
it.
And so we decided everybody needs a nacho in their life. So I don't know how else to describe that. You have to just go listen to that episode to really get it. But
Okay.
also, Seth said a chiseled chin is required to chisel chocolate, clearly. This sounds like a tongue twister, and I'm not saying it again.
One thing that I've really enjoyed about it is that this entire story, you are telling us about your life and how you picked up a book, found out you loved something, you were super interested in it, and you just went and did it. My question for you, having looked back at that moment and to where you are now, what advice do you have for people who are just getting started, either in chocolate making or pursuing a dream of their own?
I'd say be careful what book you pick up at a bookshop. You just don't know.
That's funny.
Uh,
I would say, I think the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole thing is that there just aren't actual rules for anything. You can just do it. And so many people are like, oh, I could never do that. I've got all these responsibilities and I need to like stay in my job at the whatever place that you're working, and you don't. You can just do whatever you want. And it's you don't need permission to do any of that. And for the longest time I was like holding out for that permission, either from my parents or from Julisa or from anybody. And at the end of the day, you can just run with it, you know?
yeah.
And whether it works out or it doesn't, it's not, none of it is really the end of the world.
Right. I mean, you follow the rules. I don't know. My sister got her MBA. She's got all the business stuff. I'm like, oh, the kids got back. All right, there they are. Anyways, here's our real life. But because my sister did business school, she's like, I would never open a business. So, oh, hey, Eloise. You want to say hi?
Hi, Eloise.
Hi.
Hey, do you want to go have your snacks? So you finish up there?
We're almost done.
Okay. Go eat your snacks. I put them in your room. Like pets. Oh, okay.
Great.
Hey, Ellie.
Okay.
Yep. Also the dream. There they are.
She's adorable.
I mean, it's not bad growing up in a chocolate bookshop. Like, there could be worse childhoods. No complaints there.
One thing, because I know your kids just got home, but one thing I do want to ask is if you could go back and you could talk to your high school self, what advice would you give to your high school self?
I mean, mine would be really surprised that I live in I came back to my hometown. I live in the same neighborhood. I say surprised, but I think maybe I'm not that surprised. I think I would just tell myself to, I don't know, keep going, because I just followed every dream that I had. I wanted to go to LA. I wanted to do theater. I wanted to do acting. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to do all those things, and I'm realizing that I've gotten to do that. Like, I would watch You've Got Mail all the time, wishing that I had my own bookshop. I didn't realize how scary it is when you might have to close. Now I've gotten to experience that part, and I'm like, oh yeah, fight to the death. Go to the mattresses. I'm like, ooh, okay, that part hits home a little differently now. But I don't know. I guess just like encouragement. I was like, just be you. Do what you've always loved doing, and just go on the adventure, because that's what it's been. Like, it's just been an adventure for these last 20 years since high school.
I think that would be it. Just be
Mm-hmm.
just, if you strive for anything, just strive to be your authentic self, and that's going to be great. Because I tried to be that corporate. I'm climbing the ladder, gonna be an analyst who's gonna then be a director, who's then gonna be a VP, and then our life will be complete. And it's just not me. I mean, they gave me the Myers-Briggs test, and then at the end of it, they're like, we just want to see what path you're going to be on for the company. And then it said, you should be an artist or a chef. And I said, sorry, everybody. Yeah. And I think just like, if you have a whim, you should take it and run with it.
Yeah, Josh is a chef as well.
Love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we knew he would love this episode.
Right.
That and the coffee. He's definitely ordering some of those for sure. Well, I want to make sure everybody gets to your website as again. I'm sorry, I just highlighted the wrong message. There we go. Sorry. Kaz just said my whim was leather making.
Yes.
Kaz makes armor for horses out of leather.
Sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Kaz needs to make a box for a chocolate bar that I put a $10,000 price tag on it. And then you have an opportunity to buy a $10,000 chocolate bar. And people will say, why is it worth $10,000? Because it's in a box and it says $10,000 on it. And you get to tell somebody that you ate a bar of chocolate that was worth $10,000. It would be awesome.
That's enough for some people, yeah.
I know.
that'd be
They
amazing.
just love it.
That'd be great.
She said, "Pwahaha." I hope I did that justice. Yeah, I think you guys will have to connect and make that happen. I could see that. I could see that happening. And we'll make like a whole commercial for it
Yeah.
Totally.
where
Totally.
we'll have armor on the horse that gets ridden in the commercial and
It'd be so good.
So good.
That'd be great.
So just to make sure that we've got your socials here and we give a nice shout out, we have, of course, have your website, which everyone needs to go to. My personal favorite from this entire website, besides the bars of chocolate, are the sculpted faces and the bar of chocolate with Moby Dick on it. But we have storyboarddelights.com. They can find you at Instagram at storyboard_delights. Is that correct?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are there? Yeah.
Didn't mean to answer for you.
We are now your brand managers.
Yep. Perfect. I need a break.
Thanks. Yep, we were taking over.
What other places can our listeners follow you at?
Do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, you go for it. Like, yeah, we're on Facebook.
just-
We had high hopes about doing things on YouTube. We haven't done our videos for a long time. Every once in a while I'll do something on TikTok, but Instagram's where I'm at most of the time, and then Facebook, it all kind of is linked together. We do, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
you guys have to go watch their videos on YouTube though, because they're really fun. Do it.
We good.
Well, Eric, Julisa, I really do have to say thank you so much for being on tonight. This was such a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed having you on. And when we come up to your shop so that we can experience this in person,
Yeah.
do you do tours?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. It's one room.
Yeah. We designed it as an open kitchen, but we will take you behind the counter.
You can see the dishwasher in the back if you want.
Sometimes it works. Yeah, it's great.
Not right now. It doesn't work right now.
That's the other glamorous part where you're like, I should make chocolate. Nope, I gotta fix the ice machine or the dishwasher.
Intimately aware of how to fix an ice machine. So,
Yeah.
you know, if anybody needs an ice machine guy,
Backup.
An ice machine guy. We'll remember that. We'll put that on our list.
yeah.
God. Please go out. Please go order from their shop. Honestly, I can't wait to have the bars of chocolate. Personally, I'm eyeing the 5 different kinds of dark chocolate right now. So,
Yes.
yeah.
It's real good.
Thank you so much, guys, for being on.
Yeah, thank you. This is so fun.
So wonderful. We could talk for hours.
I know. We could do a part 2 sometime.
We'll see
I
you
would
next
love
week.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next week is Memorial Day, but okay.
Yep.
We'll do an impromptu meetup though at bowling.
At bowling.
I
in
love it.
July.
Yes.
Yeah.
We could do a remote live.
Yeah.
And in between, we'll like throw the ball down the whatever
Yeah.
you call it lane.
Julisa and I got a second date from Julisa because we went out bowling on our first date, and I'm not a bowler. I bowl about a 62 normally, and we were making bets. I was like, "How much will you bet that I beat you?" And she's like, "I'll bet you a second date." And I bowled the best bowling game I've ever had. I bowled a 185. It was just strike after strike after strike. And now we're married.
Yeah. So also be careful what you bet. Don't watch the books. Be careful what you bet. But
What a great story. I love it. So yeah, part 2, we'll do it. We'll figure that out.
it'll be nice to
Definitely.
check into after we've kind of gotten through this whole big rush of lovely support and wonderfulness, and then we'd be like, okay, now here's our next dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We'll
Right.
come up with some ideas for you.
awesome. I love it.
Well, as we close this episode out, we do want to say that this episode, along with probably every other episode, Always and Forever, is in memory to Joe Capone, our moderator, fellow comedian, dude, bro, nitpicker, encourager, and great friend. Find us pretty much wherever you tune into podcasts. For updates, announcements, and more, please follow us on social media under Modern Romantic. Thank you, everyone, and remember, you don't need permission.
Yep. Go for those dreams.
We
Thanks,
love you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.